Hey everybody, it's Armin. Today we're going to do something different than I normally post. We're going to do installation of hood louvers and how I do them. This customer's asked me to put hood louvers on, so I figure you guys probably already know how to take a hood off, so here's the hood. We're going to start by giving it a really good wipe down so that way we have a nice clean surface for the template to adhere to. Now this video is only if you have a template. If you don't, I'll make a video in the future for when someone else has me do those. But meanwhile, today we're going to be doing the Singular Motorsports set, so we're going to take out our template, and as some of you are probably familiar with these, you tape this template down, and then, well, depending how good you are at centering it will dictate how centered it is on final. So I'm going to demonstrate how I do these, and then I'll just sort of do a speed run video through how I actually cut it so you guys can see me in action. So first let's start by cleaning this up. Now this template calls for us to essentially line this up on the U shape, and then this says this should be 8 inches to the edge of the hood. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut this to where we're actually directly on the edge here. So it says 8 inches for this line, so I'm going to actually cut back to that line, and I'm going to put a tape mark on the hood that is at an 8-inch marker. For all this I'm going to use my my sewing. Okay, so I've got my painter's tape, I have my sewing tape. This is actually really handy because it's, it goes around these curves easily. Permanent marker. This is nice and clean. I'm not clay bar clean here. I just gave it the spray and wipe, your quick detailer stuff. So first we're going to start by putting our piece of tape. Let's see. So we're going to go 8 inches from the edge. So I need to put my tape about right there. There's a new roll of tape. Look at that. Okay, so now we have a piece of tape approximately the 8-inch area. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to mark. So level, this part really won't dictate if we're level for the whole thing, but what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up measuring it from multiple angles and sides. But I'm just going to take another little piece of tape, put this right down. We're going to take that to the edge piece, and we're going to put this about right there. So already I can see it's pretty crooked. I'm going to try and line this up to where these go here, and this comes down about 8 inches there. We're going to put piece of tape there just to hold it. So now we're going to put a piece of tape on either side. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to put a piece of tape on top of it. Okay, piece of tape on the right. Piece of tape on the left. Now we're done with the tape for now. We really shouldn't need tape anymore. So this starts getting very important for symmetry purposes. Make sure none of this tape gets pulled up. Okay, I'm going to verify that I got the 8 inches correct. Yeah, we're dead on 8 inches. That's good. So now, what I've done in the past is you can visually see that this is crooked right now. This blue is inside the crease here. This blue is outside the crease here. So I know it's crooked right now. So I'm going to pull this up and see if I can't bring it over a bit. Okay, that seems about right. So one of the places I like to measure is at the beginning of this crease. So I'll measure here to the corner here, and I'm getting 15 3/4 to the paper. So I'm going to do the same and measure over here and see if I'm pretty close. That'll tell me if I'm coming up crooked. Yeah, I got 16 1/2 here, so we're way off. So that tells me we're definitely way off. So obviously 8 inches here is okay, but we're crooked there. So I'm going to loosen this up. Let's see, we may have to recenter this as well, as long as I stay on that 8. So let's try here. Let's try there. And this may take several iterations because I really want to do a good job for the customer, as no one likes to have crooked hood louvers. I'll be honest, I think the ones on my own car are kind of crooked, but those were literally the first ones I've ever cut. So we're going to measure here. Got 16.5 again. Let's see if this one's moved. I got 16.25, so we'll move this down just a touch more. Let's see if we can move that just the slightest bit. Uh-oh. 16.25. Sixteen and a half. So we're still just a touch off. Got a little bit more to go. Sixteen 3/8. Ooh, 16.25. I'm gonna say that's okay. We are gonna get some variance, so I don't want to go to, 1/8 of an inch precision here, because it's actually gonna be a fool's game trying to get that little precision. Because right now I can tape it down, but when it actually gets stuck down, that'll be a different thing. Because actually sticking down a piece of vinyl like this, we may not get that level of precision on the second when we go to stick it down. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to make sure that my tape is nice and stuck down. Okay, we're going to do like your typical vinyl wrap. We're going to lift up one side, cut back the material, spray everything out with soapy water, lay it down, do the same on the other side, verify we're about centered, and then we'll make sure we push it down with a credit card. All right, I've got my soapy water here. We're going to lift up this side and just fold it over for the moment. This is fine here. We don't need that piece of tape. We're going to spray this down with our soapy water. We're going to peel back this material. Make sure we're only peeling back the backside, and make sure that the blue doesn't come with it, because the vinyl comes with it, well, you're really screwed. Uh-oh, didn't want that to happen. Looks like my tape's trying to lift off here. It's okay, we're still in good position. Just gonna roll this on. All right. So this is in an okay position. Probably gonna need to adjust it a little bit. We're gonna pull this up. Done with that tape. Once again, spray down with a bunch of soapy water. I'm going to peel this back just the same, nice and easy. Okay, and we're going to roll that on over, nice and easy. Okay, so now I want to verify that my position's okay before I go sticking this. So we're going to take our tape, we're going to verify our 8 inches here. See, I ended up at 8 1/8. It's not the end of the world, but this one I want to make sure we're pretty straight. So I've got 16 3/8 here, and I've got 16 1/4 here. So we're going to call that okay. Okay, so this portion of the video is brought to you by my Costco card. We're going to set this down. So right now I want to make sure that we got a little bit of flexibility in our template. There we go. It's got to move outward a little bit. Okay, so we start from the middle, just like vinyls. We're just going to push outward. Get rid of all of that liquid that's in here. So usually I get maybe 1 or 2 small folds in here because the template is flat, but the hood is not. The hood is curved. So we will end up having maybe 1 or 2 small wrinkles. I'm just going to try to mitigate those. So you see I'm moving in sort of the outward fashion. Okay, I think we're ready to start peeling up. I'm going to dry some of this off first. Okay, very, very gently, we're going to pull this away. So this part is very delicate because that soapy water is going to still be trying to leave the adhesive from sticking, just like that. See? It doesn't want to stick. Really push this out. May have to cut this and split it. Still got water running off of this. There's water trapped in some spots, and I'm going to have my just a little crease right there, it looks like. It's not the end of the world. Okay, we've got our template on the hood. I'm going to let it sit in the sun for just a moment and dry a little bit more so it sticks a little bit better. So I still have a bunch of the water floating around in here. It looks like I'm going to have another crease maybe right there. Now, depending how comfortable you are with this next portion of the process where we have to cut the hood up, you may want to add an entire layer of tape around your edges, because depending how you cut this, you may have your bit may jump, and if you jump, if it jumps inward, you got no problem because this is going to be gone. But if it jumps outward, it's definitely going to nick straight through this vinyl. This vinyl is super thin. So, just for grins, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how I do that. Though I actually don't ever do that. I've done enough of these that I tend to not jump. For demonstrational purposes, we'll take care of doing that, and then we'll commence with cutting. So I did this just as an example. If you're going to do this to try and actually protect your paint, I'd suggest you do between 2 and 3 layers, just like this, not too far from the edge. You will have about a 1/4 inch of give, and we're going to attempt to cut this dead on the line, because I've found if you cut just inside the line, the louvers are too tight of a fit. If you cut just on the line, then you get a pretty decent fit. And then also we're gonna go back and we're gonna smooth our edges out so it won't be sharp edged. So at this point I have not removed the insulation on the underside. That'll help make less mess on the ground. So after I cut this, we will pull that out. You can pull it out ahead of time, it's just, it'll start shooting aluminum flakes downward. So next I'm going to demonstrate, I'm going to show the tools that I'll be using. So absolutely paramount for doing this job is eye protection, because of course I'm going to be throwing shards of aluminum and my eyes are going to be pretty close because I want to cut very precise. I have two small pencil grinders here. I actually just bought this one. This is a Cornwell. It's almost a 90. It's like just a little bit more. But this is just your typical one you can get at Harbor Freight or Amazon. And I use this one. We're going to use it on maximum speed because it doesn't actually end up running on maximum speed. It's just it gives it maximum effort. So by the time it starts cutting the aluminum, it'll need all the effort it can get. So we have these blades. I use the quick connect ones. The easy lock ones. They make life really easy, because I'll just be able to change them out as they get smaller. If you are cutting too aggressively, the blade will get small really fast, as well as it'll hang up more. So you'll notice my technique. I try to cut from the inside, from this direction, not from that direction, unless I absolutely have to. And then also I'll try to position myself to where I'm not in the line of fire. So at this point, Okay, so at this point we have finished the front side. I haven't smoothed anything out yet. I'm gonna wait until I get my cuts nice and wide open and we'll make the adjustments. We'll probably have to make some adjustments in order to get them to actually fit. On this side, what I'm gonna do is I have it sitting on top of moving blankets and I've removed out all of the underside insulation. You saw me blow it off. So now I'm gonna cut out a shape and we're gonna, I'm gonna see if my memory is pretty good, but I'm going to cut out the shape that I normally cut out in order to make easy access. So we don't want to cut exactly the profile of the upper because the vent itself is larger. So we still don't have to cut it huge though, because we don't want to compromise too much of the structure of the hood, as well as we want to be able to get it in there without too much trouble after we fold the louvers. So folding the louvers makes it much more difficult to slide it in. As the louvers fit, the louvers themselves will fit right inside of that slot on the top side. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my marks, and then we'll start in. So on the bottom side, I don't do it with the precision pencil grinder. I do it with the regular 3-inch cutoff wheel or 3.5-inch cutoff wheel, and I'll just go through and do that because the bottom side we're not worried about as much. It is important that you take your time when you do the top side, because if you go too fast or you cut too aggressively, then you can bubble the paint. The bottom side, we really don't care because we don't see that. And also the paint on the bottom is already thin. It's not really, honestly, it's not really gonna bubble like the top will with the paint and the clear coat. Okay, so all of our primary cuts are done at this point. The front is now fully exposed through the rear, which is what we want. And it looks like we have a decent profile around the outside in order to fit. I think I'm gonna have to trim this one back a little bit more because there's not gonna be enough space here for the aluminum to fit, because the vent inserts fit here, not on the other face. So we do need to have space along the sides here. I haven't drilled out my holes yet. What I'm going to want to do now is smooth all these edges, because we have a lot of really sharp edges here, and well, of course I don't want to have sharp edges. So what I have is a specific aluminum bit here. I have a set of aluminum bits. They have large flutes on them. That's how you can identify that they are aluminum and not steel. And these chip away more at the material because the steel type bits are really fine and they'll end up melting the aluminum. So what I'll be doing is just running along the sides of this to make sure I smooth it out so we have none of these sharp edges. This is a very important part to me because it's part of doing a quality job as opposed to just cut it and send it. So now you'll watch me do this, then we'll flip it back over and we'll drill our holes out and then make sure that everything fits. So what at this point, we're done with all of the cleanup of the backside. I just used some alcohol and wiped off all of my paint marker stuff. The backside doesn't matter so much, but you know, I like to clean up after myself a little bit. So these edges are now not going to cut anybody if they run their fingers along there. I made sure I got all of it. It's all really nice and smooth. Now, we still don't know if the fitment's perfect, but at least it's been shaved down for safety purposes. I'm usually pretty good with my cuts after this many times, after this many hood louver sets. So now we're going to get the louver sets out and we're going to bend them up. We're going to put them into place on the front side. And then we're going to line up and match drill the holes. So on the front side, we're going to have to pull our tape off. We're going to find those holes. We're going to hit those with the center punch and then drill those out. I like to put the templates on the front side and then use the with the fins bent. That way they hold their position inside of this. Make sure we match drill all of those in the correct position, and then we can install them from the underside, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how I bend these. I have my aluminum or steel or whatever top this desk is, and I'm going to sit this on here. It has a nice square edge on it, unlike this table, which is a rounded edge. And my objective here is to bend all these by hand. There's not really another way to bend them practically, but it's very important that they get bent correctly. So we're going to start over here. And it's kind of hard. The correct bending position is sort of where these slots are, right up against the edge of the table. So we want to push down on that. But it is kind of hard to start it, so sometimes I'll just get it like that. Then I'll put it in a position. I'll start pushing, and then you got to start lifting up on it as well. It's very difficult. But first one has to be upright entirely. So going about 90 degrees, and there we go, nice 90 degrees. So the next ones we want to make all these something like 40, 45-ish degrees. So that can be adjusted really finely on the car. But the rest of these are a lot easier. We're just going to bend them down. And the thing is, we want to make sure we're not curving the whole thing, because that can accidentally happen if you try to do it in your hands. Also, if you try to start with the top one, you're going to have a really bad time. So once again, line those up, give it a push, pull it out to the next one. And the last one. So that's one side. Sit that over here. It's important that we make sure we're not bending these the same direction, because if we bend this like this, we are definitely screwed. This aluminum won't like being bent multiple times. So once again, we're going to try and get this thing to lift up a little bit. First one's tricky. Okay, got it to start. Got my fingers under there. Nice and upright, and now we can just knock the other ones out. So line them up, nice big bend, line it up, oh, okay, and then the last one. Now, since we have all these lined up, the form of this will line right up into the slots on the hood. So we're going to try to get those holes to line up so we can match drill everything. We're going to head back over to the hood. Put the hood in the, hold on. There we go. I put the hood in position over here so I can check out how all of this fits together. So depending how you bent these will dictate as to which side they go to. Obviously, this one can't fit over here because that's the fat side. The fat side goes towards the bottom of the hood. So skinny side towards the top. We're going to slot that in there sideways. Let's see, like this. Uh-oh, looks like I might need to cut a little bit more. And this sometimes happens because, you know, I didn't go by a template or anything. But you see, this is where it's important to learn from my videos, so you can just do it once. Anyway, this is how they would be installed. Oh look, this one's probably going to go in. Well, once again, like I said, I may need to cut more. So it looks like I'm going to need to cut some more over here and over there. That might be able to resolve all of my problems. Let's go ahead and say we're going to cut a little more over this way. Right there. And we're also going to come back and we're just going to cut straight across here. That'll probably help us quite a bit. Nice and right across there. Okay. So either way, rather than do the iterative process, this is probably a good cut template now. This will be able to just slide on in here and line up there. And this one should be able to slide on in here once that's out of the way, and then this will fall right in. All right, so I'm going to take care of cutting that stuff. After this, what I will do is I'll sit this down in here. I'll stick 2 rivets in to get the 2 rivets that I drilled holes out for. I'll get those to line up, and then I'll be making adjustments based off of that. Okay, so at this point we've finished all of our cuts. These go in and out very nicely, nice and smoothly. With the front squared up, it should be close to the front. Remember, we do need to put in the rubber gasketing, the U-channeling around the whole thing, so there does need to be a gap around the sides. But what we're going to try to do here is get this in position, take a couple of rivets, stick those in. It looks like I have this hole accessible from this side and this one as well. So I'll be able to put all 4 of these rivets in, and hopefully we don't have more cutting to do, but if we do, it'll be very minor amounts in order just to make room for that U-channel molding. So I will post a photo here with, this is the cut pattern I used, so you guys can follow that cut pattern if you want. It'll just make your life easier. And then as far as the front, you just use their cut pattern. So we're going to use, like I said, the first 2 as the obvious go-tos for those, the first 2 holes as the obvious go-tos for the pattern. And then we should be able to drill all except for 2 of these from the rear. So we have these 2 here, these 2 are accessible, and then these 2 are not accessible from the back side. This one's actually accessible over here, so I may be able to drill all but 1. But either way, we'll take care of this. But what I can do is I can actually take this and use it on the front side for inverse. Hold on a second, let me flip this over. Okay. So with this flipped over, we can actually take the inverse of these, stick them on top, and they fit exactly the same on the opposite face. So we can use this also as our template as well. And then, like I said, we do need to maintain a small gap around all of these edges from the sides of these, the vents. That way we have room for that U-channel molding. So at this point, we're going to take care of the drilling, the marking, and then the drilling. And then we can just install the U-channel molding, final rivets, and we're done. All right, now that we've done all of the drilling, this is where it's important to see how well your holes line up before we go try riveting anything in. This usually happens. So when you drill your holes on this curved surface, the chances are your drill bit may wobble. So what I do is I drill them as best I can. I make sure I try to hit them right in the center with the punch, but even so, stuff like this happens. So I cut apparently 2 on the line right here. This actually needs to be opened up just a little bit over in this corner because I can't get this low enough to line up with the holes. This side is actually perfectly fine. We can rivet this one in, and there's also plenty of room for the gasketing around the edges. So I'm going to come back and just trim this edge a bit, and then we'll go ahead and throw in the U-channel mold. Okay, so I just cut off a small section out here, and it looks like some of the holes are still not entirely on center. That's not entirely uncommon. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take care of using the rubber molding. First, we're going to install it, and we need to make sure that we're not stretching it. We need to make sure we're pushing it into the corners, try and shove it together, because in my experience, after you put it on there and it stays for a while, it'll shrink a little bit. Maybe that's just Texas heat, but first we're going to go ahead and just pick a position, start in, and we're going to run this around. So the corners are very important. Let's see, I'm just going to run this around here. Okay, now that I've made all my way around, what I need to do is go back and make sure I push all of this together. So I'm just going to give this some, let's see, push this over here into this corner, push this over into this corner, and push that into that corner. So there might be a little bit of a fold here. That's fine. And make sure this is pushed into this corner though. A little too much there. Okay, that'll end up pushing into this corner. Okay. Now that we know where it's going to be, we're going to take that. We're just going to chop it right there. So we ran out of daylight and ran out of battery yesterday. I went ahead and finished putting in the rubber stripping on this one. Once again, it's nice and finalized up here. I trimmed a little bit to make sure that they come together square. What I've seen some people do is they'll go back and put a piece of electrical tape over this to make it look a little smoother or to keep the edges down. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and glue this in using a little bit of super glue. I usually peel this back, put a dab of super glue, and just run that down, let that get stuck. And we want to make sure it's pressed down into the corners. And then after that, we will start in with the rivets. So I'll do all the rivets that are the best lined up, and then after that we will re-drill the other holes to line them up. We'll essentially match drill them. So we've got all but 5 of these rivets in. These were okay lined up. A couple of these are a little bit off. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this aluminum bit. It's the same type of bit that I used in order to smooth out all the edges. And we're going to use that to just drill until we have a hole that these fit through. It'll sort of bring both of the holes together. So. Nice and easy. We don't want to apply too much pressure. We don't want to over open the hole. And it fits. The same here. Cool. That takes care of those two. So now let's continue on doing the rest of those, and that's actually the rest of the video for instruction wise, and then I'll just show how it came out. Okay, we got the hood installed on the car now. Let's take a better look at it. So there's the underside. And the pretty side. So I'd like to demonstrate how this fits. Specifically, this is with the Singular Motorsports ones. But you end up having clear view straight down to the radiator fan. Aside from if you don't have this type of air intake, the regular tubular ones allow you a ton of airflow through here. And over here as well, you get so much airflow. So you end up having colder AC, colder radiator temps, and colder under hood temps in general. Thanks for watching.